You came up in a musical family, as is often the case with these sort of sibling sets, sort of like the Van Halen, Kings of Leon dynamic. You guys come up together and ultimately form a group, and you guys landed stylistically pretty close to where the traditional roots of like the stuff you heard as kids. But often that there's a certain deviation from that during like the teen years, the angsty years. What sort of stuff? What sort of stuff were you cutting your teeth on at that time, and how has it informed or sort of lent a certain flavor to what you guys do now?
It's funny, right? Like, I feel like you grow up listening to the music that your parents listened to, generally, like in the early years. And, our parents were musicians and in bands and doing like harmony singing, like Crosby, Stills and Nash,
right,
folky kind of stuff. And that was amazing. That's kind of like what got our feet wet a little bit when we were kids, because we would just sit and watch our mom and her band rehearse. And then, as we got a little bit older, like you're saying, like the teen years, I was going through all sorts of stuff, and my brother too, like more grungy stuff we were listening to.
Right.
I think I was like listening to Soundgarden, and Alex was listening to, what was he listening to at the time? I mean, we all went through different phases of all sorts. It wasn't just like grunge stuff. We were probably listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers and Sublime and stuff at the time. Whatever newer stuff that like rocked harder than the stuff our parents were listening to, basically. Right. And then, and we listened to that kind of stuff for a long time, and then eventually formed a band and started singing harmonies and playing folkier type music again. So kind of going full circle, which I think is kind of a natural progression, maybe.
I can kind of hear that. It's like hypercharged bluegrass almost, like the energy of the 90s. I can pick that up.
Yeah, a little bit of rock and roll in there, I guess. Totally.
I want to talk a bit about the recent project Ear Snacks, which was done sort of DIY style, kind of throwing up some mics, getting musicians together and seeing what sticks. And you drew some parallels, not necessarily stylistically, but process-wise, between that record and Kind of Blue. Miles Davis, obviously, perhaps the most highly regarded commercial jazz album ever.
Yeah.
That's a really neat dynamic. They say Miles would kind of like to keep his guys on his toes, almost like Bob Dylan, come in with like little pieces of paper and like pass them to the musicians, like, here's your part. And it's just like a set of changes. What was that process like? And was it a distinct deviation from the way you normally do things? I don't see you guys like obsessing over auto-tune and like perfection and stuff, but how far off the usual path was that recording process?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's funny because I was just digging into I think I heard a podcast recently about one of Tom Waits' guitar players, and talking about I don't know if it was Bone Machine or Mule Variations, one of Tom Waits' albums, and the process. He just gets like really good musicians, and then they get like one or two takes, and then that's it. And it's like before they get a chance to think about it too much or like develop their part too much, he kind of wants like almost like not like a childlike, but like a simplified version of what you would normally do or something.
Like an instinctual response.
Totally. And keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Just do whatever. If the performer, the musicians are good and well practiced and stuff, then, hopefully anything that comes out is going to be cool. And maybe you just want that raw performance, and it'll have the most feeling and thoughtlessness to it and stuff. But, that record was not intended to be a record. It was just, we were getting together and making collaboration videos at the time. And just kind of, it was all just meant to be like video with like pretty good sound. Basically, we were like outside in different areas and
Right.
occasionally inside, and we'd set up. Sometimes it's just one mic. Sometimes it's like 4 or 5 mics just going into a Zoom recorder, and it was just intended to be like, okay, mix it together, and then we're gonna slap it on video, and then release the video. And so we never thought about it as a recording or a release or anything like that. And so I think that really kind of made some magic, because we weren't thinking about perfection. We weren't worried about anything about like really nailing it or getting it, oh, we have to do that again. I messed up in this part, and just kind of like rolled with some mistakes. And that was just like a really beautiful thing. And then eventually we're like, oh, these turned out really good. Like, let's put a few of them together and release a record. And it was the record that wasn't really supposed to be a record that ended up sounding awesome. And, there's some sort of magic to it in not caring that much, I guess.
For sure. It's almost cliche, but it bears repeating. A lot of the best stuff just comes about organically that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah,
I've
totally
heard those stories about Dylan too. He'll do a take and then come back and take two. The song is in a different key, or just radically change the tempo. And how do we keep up with? So I guess you have to be sharp in those situations.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't hear about that. That's pretty funny though. I like that.
You've done some solo work, and which is not uncommon for members of bands to sort of explore those avenues. Every artist seems to have their own motivations behind that. What would you say is the biggest difference creatively in your approach to that material and the material with the brothers Comatose, if any?
Let's see here. Well, it was kind of a difficult time with the band. I think as any band goes, there's bumps in the road and things like that, and we had a little shakeup in personnel at the time, and didn't really know what the future was going to hold for the band. Like, our bass player and mandolin player left the band right around the same time. And I think for me personally, I just kind of needed to do something completely different. And I had some other friends that, drummers and bass players and electric guitar players. And I'm like, I kind of want to play some like loud, rock and roll, and do something that doesn't sound anything like the Brothers Comatose.
Right.
And it was great. It was really freeing. And I didn't know what that project was gonna hold as far as the future of it or anything like that. But it was a really cathartic process. I think I just like needed to get some of that stuff out, and it was really nice. And did some shows and did some touring, and now I have that. I still have that record, and it was really fun, and I can do those shows every once in a while. But we found, as far as the Brothers Comatose goes, we found some really great players, bass and mandolin, that joined the band, and we kind of started that back up again, and it felt really good. And so we just kind of kept pursuing that, and the solo thing just kind of isn't really happening right now, especially because I've 2 kids and a full-time band in the Brothers Comatose, and I also play in a band with my wife, like a folk duo.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, man, got my hands full currently, which is awesome. That's kind of the best place to be. So
it's a good problem to have, for sure.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
I stumbled upon some video you played with Graham Lesh, son of Grateful Dead bassist Phil Lesh, did some Dead tunes.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of sense to me, because I feel like there are a lot of parallels between you guys and the Dead, in that you write this great original material, but you're equally adept at churning out these thoughtful interpretations that take existing songs to entirely new places, almost the way the jazz guys would approach interpreting a standard back in the 40s and 50s. What is your relationship with the music of the Grateful Dead? Do you go deep, like digging through bootleg shows? Is it more of a general appreciation? Because it's not an easy thing to wrap your head around necessarily. It took me many years to fully appreciate it.
You know, I don't. I do have an appreciation for the Grateful Dead. It's like it's kind of. I feel like in my DNA being from the Bay Area, and I mean even our band got its start on Haight Street in San Francisco, just a couple blocks from Haight-Ashbury. You know, we lived on Haight Street, and that's where we would have all of our early band rehearsals, and you know, so there is just this. The Grateful Dead is like the Bay Area music. You know, it's so it's definitely in there, but I never did a deep dive. I definitely appreciate it, and I know a lot of Grateful Dead stuff, and I've played, you know, a bunch of Grateful Dead music, and had the super great fortune to play, you know, with Phil Lesh and Bob Weir on stage a couple times, and Graham Lesh is, you know, and so it's like, it's so awesome to be from the Bay and have that music be from here. But I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of like listening to 1973 and, you know, I'm trying to just drop it like a live show or something like that. But I'm sure it will come someday, but it hasn't yet.
That's how I feel. It gets you when it gets you. I didn't understand it at all, and I became one of those obsessives. But
really?
I would not to be that guy, but 73, 74 is where it's at when you. But
nice. Okay, cool. Well, I know it's coming. I know it's coming someday, and I'm gonna just like the light bulb will flick on. But as far as like the cover thing too, I feel like they did a lot of the same kind of thing. They wrote some great songs, and yeah, they have, and it's almost like some of those old standards or some old folk songs or bluegrass songs or things like that are like just part of their lexicon too, and it's, I feel the same way, man. It's just like there's so much good music out there. I know some people like just don't even want to touch covering songs, and it's just, I don't know, the way that I grew up with music, and my brother who plays banjo in the band, it was just like we would sit around in the living room. My parents would throw music parties, and all their musician friends would come over, and they would just pass songs around and be like, oh, let's do this song, this Dylan song, this Grateful Dead song, this, you know, and it's in G, and okay, it goes like this, and then cool, like we would all just do it and sing it and try to sing harmonies on the spot, and it was just a magical thing, and it felt like such a natural way for music to be communicated. And we never, you know, like studied music. You know, I took some guitar lessons and things like that, but that felt like such a pure way to share music. And I guess that whole ideal just continues on through our band, and it's we just take music that we like, and we learn it, and we play it, and, you know, just for fun, for practice, for studying things that we really like, and for collaborating with other people. And it's I don't know, I love that aspect. I love collaborations, and I love learning about music and the history of music and how it's created, and what makes it special, what makes it interesting to me. And so yeah, I don't know, it just feels like a natural thing to do, you know.
That's so cool, and really beneficial, that type of exposure. And I feel like it's something that maybe the younger folks with the internet and stuff are missing these days, because it's not you hear or see or take in what's available. Everything is so hyper personalized, and it's exactly what you want in the moment. Whereas before it was like whatever's on TV, whatever's on the radio, and it created a sort of broader range of influences, I feel like, for artists coming up in those times.
Totally. Yeah, it's like when you have access to everything all the time, it almost like narrows your focus a little bit, because there's so many choices that it's really hard to focus on one particular thing. Or, I was thinking about it too, because we try to kind of like keep our daughter. We have a 3.5-year-old, and trying to keep her off screens as much as we can. And we got her this like tape player, this old school like Fisher Price cassette player, and got her some like books on tape, and some different records and things like that. And she just like listens to the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And I noticed that, when I go on Spotify, I'm like, oh, I listened to that record last week, or I listened to that thing already. Like, I'm going to find something else. I'm going to find, and then, so I don't dig in as deep as I used to when I had fewer options. And I think that might be kind of detrimental. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to have access to anything, to everything ever created at the tip of your fingers. But also, it's like I don't have the same connections with certain records because there are so many choices, and it's there is a beauty in limitations, I guess.
100%. Not too long ago, I started buying CDs again because I had a car with a CD player, which has since broken and didn't have Bluetooth. So I would be limited to like the 5 CDs in my console. So it's not like, what do I want to listen to from like the entire universe of music? It's like, which of these 5 speaks to me the most right now? And you find different things that way. It's really neat.
Yeah, and you really dig in. It's like you can connect on a deeper level with artists because you're really like digging in and really paying attention, instead of kind of glossing over or whatever.
It's like how you form friendships with people you go to school with, because like we're both stuck in this building together.
Dude, that is a great analogy. I like that.
On the subject of family, in my experience, becoming a dad really revealed to me just how little perspective I had on everything. It like indubitably will shift your priorities, your perspective of the world, the way you approach things. Did becoming a dad affect your creative process at all?
It's kind of hard to say, I guess. I think before, a big part of it is time, right? Mm-hmm. For me, it's just like before, you have so much time, but so you could just kind of be like, oh, I feel inspired right now, so I'm going to go do that. But now that I am a dad and I have 2 kids, and I have very little free time when I'm not touring and things like that. So I have to be very, very particular about what I do and when I do it, and how quickly I do it, because there's not a whole lot of it. So I think that kind of made me a little more not particular. What's the word I'm looking for?
Discerning.
Maybe discerning, or like precise, or about like, okay, I have 20 minutes to work on, to start a song. I need to get creative, like put myself in the zone and really and dig in, because I have like a cutoff. So
yeah, there's not a lot of waiting around for inspiration. It's like it shows you what you can get done with an hour or whatever it is.
And dude, I have never been more productive in a short amount of time than since I've become a dad. And
right.
So it really does help, because it gives you that perspective. But also you kind of like have to learn how to work on very little sleep.
Yeah.
Which is hard. It's hard to do, man.
Coffee is your friend. My friend, at least.
Oh, big time. I drink a lot of it. Yeah.
I saw that you guys are coming out this way to play Mountain Stage, I believe next month, out in Charleston. Mm-hmm. Have you all been out this way before?
We have. We did Mountain Stage years ago, probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. But it's been a long time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
It's funny, you guys are out west, right? But musically, I feel like you fit right in with the vibe here. Like I've been putting folks onto your stuff, and if you guys play Feathered Indians, I bet it kills, because people love chillers out here and that vibe.
Oh, dude, love Tyler Childers. Yeah, we have covered that before. But yeah, dude, we've been touring a lot and kind of find like a lot of our people are out there. It's been like a super nice, very warm welcome to come out east and to the south and stuff. Yeah, it's great. It just kind of goes hand in hand.
Nice. You got some shows lined up, about to hit the road. What is next for the Brothers Comatose? Have you got anything in the can as far as new material, just taking it as it comes?
Oh yeah, we have. We've been in the studio here and there. You know, it's a little bit hard to get studio stuff done right now because our band is kind of spread out. Our fiddle player lives in Mexico. Our mandolin player lives in LA, and the rest of us are in the Bay Area. But we have been in the studio, and we've got 4 tracks that are being mixed right now. And we're going to get in the studio in the next month or two and finish out a record, I believe. And then who knows how long it'll take to finish that and get mixed. But we'll start releasing tracks in the next month or two.
Awesome. Man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Good talking to you.
And best of luck to you guys on future endeavors with the new record, the new shows. Looking forward to the new material.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.